So it's been a while since I've done a video on gold. This morning a significant event occurred. We did get a left translated cycle like I've been warning all along. Gold just rarely ever completes an intermediate cycle low without at least one failed daily cycle. And we've got it here this morning. You can see this was the October daily cycle low, and then we had this very weak bounce and then a lot of sideways chop as the banksters fleeced bulls and bears alike, but they kept gold contained as the dollar went down and completed its ICL yearly cycle low, and that was a bad sign. Gold really should have rallied back up into the 1330, 1340 area as the dollar dropped into that ICL, but it was just held back, and that again, like I said, that was a bad sign. They set gold up to break this support zone, and I'll show you the chart of silver here in a second. But when you get a support zone that is held for a long time like this, and then when it breaks, it's going to set up a lot of stops. So when the support zone breaks, then you can get a waterfall event down into the ICL. Now, here's the question. This intermediate cycle, this was the last intermediate cycle low. This intermediate cycle is left translated. This topped on week 8. Most of the time, left translated cycles will make a lower low below the previous cycle of the same degree. So the last intermediate cycle low was right here in July. So with this cycle left translating, there is risk that we're going to get a waterfall event and come down and break this July low. However, I think we are clearly in a basing pattern, and I think there's the possibility that we're in a triangle type basing pattern. And so if that's the case, then the decline would probably stop at this triangle trend line, and that might hold this above that July low, even though this is left translated. So it's, we're just going to have to wait. Now, this daily cycle is very, very mature. This is day 41, I believe. I'm going to guess we're probably going to bottom maybe on or a day on either side of the FOMC meeting. So we're probably just going to get a big whoosh down and then find that bottom right there sometime next week, middle of next week, end of next week at the latest. Maybe on this triangle trend line. If so, it could hold above this July low, and that would keep July as the yearly cycle low. But we're entering the bloodbath phase here. That's probably what we're going to get over the next 5 to 7 days. So I would be patient. I wouldn't try and pick a bottom just yet. If you want to try and pick a bottom, I think I would wait till next week, and I would wait and see if we can't tag this trend line. That would be a potential spot to try and pick a bottom. And here's the chart of silver, and you can see once this support right here broke, we've just started a waterfall decline down. Same thing in the mining stocks. Once this support broke, just a waterfall decline. And I've gone over this before. This is usually how the bloodbath phase begins. They don't last terribly long, usually only 5 to 7 days, but price can drop a long ways in that 5 to 7 days, and it usually starts with a break of a major support zone, and that's what we've got here. And we've started this steep sell-off in the miners, and we've broken that support zone in gold, and gold is the cyclical driver of the metal sector. So the miners, sometimes they can bottom 1 or 2 days before gold, but more often than not they just bottom together. The difference is that the miners trade during market hours, and gold trades 24 hours. So sometimes if you're looking at a chart, it can look like the miners are leading gold, but really it's just if they don't trade during the pre-market or during the night, then you won't see that collapse that gold has down into the bottom. So sometimes it'll appear that the miners are leading gold, but usually they just follow it pretty close. So I wouldn't count on the miners bottoming before gold does. So I would call this right here day 1 of the bloodbath phase, as we're breaking this support zone. And like I said, they usually last between 5 and 7 days. A lot of damage can be done in that 5 to 7 days, though, so I would be patient here. If you want to try and pick a bottom, I would wait and see if maybe we don't tag this trend line, and if we do, that's where I would try and pick a bottom. And here's the culprit. The dollar has bounced out of this daily cycle low here. I'm going to say we're probably going to put in a top right around the FOMC meeting. As it stands right now, I doubt this bounce is going to make a higher high. I think this cycle is going to roll over and left translate and begin the move down that will eventually break down out of this megaphone topping pattern. But as I said, gold was really, it was just prevented from moving up like it should have during this drop into the daily cycle low. And that's just one of the things that, one of the drawbacks to trading the metals is they are one of the more heavily manipulated markets, and so you've got to take into account that this kind of stuff can happen. So like I said, gold is now set up, even though the dollar is not making a higher high above here. Gold is breaking down and starting its bloodbath phase, and that was purely, that the banksters set gold up for that breakdown. So even though the dollar really isn't that strong, gold has been set up to just take a beating down into its yearly cycle low. So a little patience. 5 to 7 days. We're probably on day 1 in the bloodbath phase for gold.